As this storm barrels across the strait right now, more than 275,000 customers don't have power across Florida. The storm will also be taking aim at Georgia and South Carolina, and the Hurricane Center warns this is still a life-threatening situation.
Yeah, it is, and a real rainmaker. NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirch is in Perry, Florida, tracking the storm's path for us. What are the latest conditions there, and is it expected to get worse? I know rain is a big concern.
Yeah, so Christine, right now we're really just dealing with the mist, but the wind gusts are still going. You can see behind me the wind making some flagpoles blow around here. We haven't had too much debris knocked over here, which is good, but we are among those, I can tell you, in this community that have lost power as this storm continues charging up the East Coast. Although I shouldn't even say charging, because frankly it is moving at a crawl. Debby now downgraded to a tropical storm, but it is moving very slowly compared to how these storms go, and that means that there's a lot of time for a lot of rain to continue to dump on the southeast U.S. Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina, all three states' governors have declared states of emergency, and we're talking about the possibility of around 30 inches of rain localized in some areas. I do want to talk about something that our climate team is flagging to us, that the week we are really just beginning, because this is going to be a days-long event, is something that we can point to climate change as having a role to play here, because we are looking at warmer atmospheric conditions, which can mean more precipitation falling. And also, the big story with this storm is not the wind, not the storm surge, but the rainfall totals in the aftermath. And what I'm told by our climate team is with climate change, you could have changes in the atmospheric conditions, which could make it so that storms continue to be stalling out and slowing down, which is what we are seeing right now with Debby. It is going very slowly. It has been continuously getting slower as it made landfall and continues to march inland over the U.S. And so what that can do is allow for more time for more rain to fall, and that's why we're looking at the possibility of life-threatening catastrophic flooding in the days ahead, guys.
Jesse, it seems to me like this is a storm where people didn't so much evacuate as they hunkered down. What is it you're seeing there, and also anything you're learning about these 4 people who've died?
A bit of both, Joe. So yesterday we were nearby Keaton Beach. That area, as well as this one just inland, are 2 of the areas that were hit hard by Idalia last year, a Category 3 hurricane that came through this region. I spoke with a gentleman. He and his family were boarding up and getting ready to leave. I spoke to a woman who said she was going to be staying in that community. So as always, I would say, speaking generally there, but typically when we cover these kinds of events, we often meet people who are planning to stay and other people who are planning to leave. And this storm appears to have been no different. I haven't heard anything about any fatalities in this community, but you talk about those 4 weather-related deaths, not necessarily directly attributed to Debby at this point, but we know from officials that there was a semi-truck cab that went off into a waterway. That driver was found dead. We know of a tree falling on a mobile home and killing a boy. And then we know of a woman, or I don't know if we know the ages of these 2 yet, but we know of 2 people who were killed in a vehicle crash, a vehicle spin out of some kind. So those are the 4 fatalities we know of, and we'll be keeping an eye on how that might progress, and hopefully we will not see more deaths. But again, we do have catastrophic flooding in the days ahead across this region, and so the threat from Debby is far from over, guys.
Yeah, Jesse, we did get an update on that single car crash you mentioned. It was a 38-year-old woman and a 12-year-old boy who were killed in that crash.
Jesse, do we know any more about where this storm is headed? We're showing sort of the projected path on the screen, so it looks like states to the north and the east are getting ready here.
Yeah, and we've been keeping an eye out for a potential second landfall in the days ahead as well. So Florida is obviously the target right now. Georgia and South Carolina are going to start to get some serious rain. 2 cities that we have teams that are keeping an eye on: Savannah, Georgia, and Charleston, South Carolina. And for context, officials in South Carolina talked about the potential for 30 inches or so of rain this week. And that's about half of what is typically expected in that area, we're told, in a year. So imagine getting a year's worth of rain in just a handful of days. That's what we're potentially looking at in communities along the East Coast coming up.
Certainly a dangerous situation even after the storm passes. Everyone be careful. Jesse, thank you.
All right, let's get more on the forecast with meteorologist Michelle Grossman.
Good morning, Michelle. What are you seeing there?
Good morning, guys. Well, we're still seeing that rain coming down, very heavy in spots, and we're going to continue to see that. And I'm glad that Jesse made that climate connection, because the waters are so warm. That's why it's strengthened, and then the air can hold warmer water, almost like a sponge that can hold a lot of water, and then it just gets squeezed out. And then we get that blocking pattern in the atmosphere. I almost think of it as like the conveyor belt at the grocery store. Things get blocked and things don't move. And that's what's happening with this storm. We don't have steering currents to move it out of here. So once again, we're going to see a historical, most likely historical amounts of rainfall. This is what it looks like right now on radar. Really dark colors showing us where the heaviest rain is falling. So Lake City, Fargo, up to Brunswick. It's not just Florida seeing the rain right now. It's up through portions of Georgia and then kind of into South Carolina as well. This is the latest as of the 11 o'clock advisory. So the latest advisory, the next one comes out at 2 p.m. Winds are down to 70 miles per hour. That's still a really strong tropical storm, but it made that landfall. So you expect that to happen as it kind of gets into the friction and decreases those winds. But notice this too, the movement northeast at 8 miles per hour. We're starting to see it slow down, and that will be the trend over the next couple of hours. And then it's going to crawl, it's going to meander, it's going to spin. And that's why we're going to talk about this through Saturday. Another piece of the puzzle is we do have a tornado watch that is through later on this afternoon. Typically with landfalling tropical systems, they're really short tornadoes or spin-ups, but we're still going to watch it as we go throughout the afternoon hours. Here is the latest track by later on tonight, a tropical storm, still a tropical storm on Tuesday and not going very far. Look at that real estate. It's hardly going anywhere. And then back out over the Atlantic on Wednesday before it makes a left-hand turn. And we're still talking about Thursday, Friday, Saturday, not going very far. The biggest thing with tropical systems, you want them in and you want them out, because the longer they're there, the longer that sponge can be squeezed and that rain can come down. So by Saturday, we're looking at winds at 35 miles per hour. Now we're talking about the mid-Atlantic, we're talking about the Northeast, we're talking about major cities, and we're seeing some airport delays because of this storm already. This is going to be a mess as we head throughout the next couple of days. And again, this rainfall is not just a lot of rain. It's life-threatening, it's catastrophic, and it most likely will be historical. So that's what we're going to watch as we go throughout the next couple of days. It's riding up the East Coast, and many of the models are agreeing with this. Look at all these little lines. These are models, or spaghetti plots is what we call them. And most of them are in agreement with it moving slowly up the coast and then making that left-hand turn. So we can feel confident that most likely that is going to happen, and it will be the case that we're going to be watching this at least through Saturday, and then much past that, because the rivers are going to be swollen. We're going to have high tides, low tides. So this is going to be a story that goes into next week. Let's talk about the extreme rainfall, because look at some of these numbers. Myrtle Beach expecting 13.84, nearly 19 inches in Charleston. It takes a thunderstorm to get some flooding there. So imagine 18 inches of rain. Savannah, we're looking at 18.54, and Jacksonville over 7 inches. Guys, this is something that is very serious. And if you live in these areas, you need to heed any warnings that are being thrown your way.
And the good news is people do have a little time to prepare, right?
Yeah, good point.
All right,
And
Michelle.
once the storm passes, it is still dangerous.
Yeah,
exactly.
Good reminder.
Michelle Grossman, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app, or follow us on social media.